In this video, I'm going to be giving my TNA Destination X 2010 pay-per-view predictions, which pay-per-view is going to be airing live tomorrow night exclusively on pay-per-view. Then after I give my predictions for TNA Destination X 2010, I'm going to give my quick run through of what I thought of the first 2 weeks of the Monday Night Wars between WWE versus TNA, since I haven't given my thoughts on that yet. Now let me get on to my TNA Destination X 2010 pay-per-view predictions. Now, I gotta say, this pay-per-view on card and on paper, it looks like this pay-per-view could be very good. It has a lot of good matches on it, but the thing of it is TNA is this like the worst timing to book a pay-per-view like this, because as good as the card looks, as good as it looks on paper, the thing is, you got WrestleMania 1 week later, and not that many people are going to be shelling out $35 plus the $60 for WrestleMania to order this pay-per-view as well. So obviously, the pay-per-view numbers aren't going to do good at all with this. The buy rates are going to be completely diminished. There's probably, I'll be kind of surprised if this pay-per-view sells, 15,000, maybe 20,000 at best, because as good as it looks on paper, as good as the card is, the thing is, not only you got WrestleMania that's going against it the following week, which obviously everyone's going to be ordering that pay-per-view, or at least most wrestling fans are going to be ordering that pay-per-view, obviously, over this if they have to choose between the two. And not only that, I think they've done a terrible job of building up this pay-per-view, because as good as, a lot of the matches are on here, a lot of them have been just pretty much thrown together, and pretty much the impacts of late up to this pay-per-view have been nothing more than pretty much building up to Lockdown and like, oh, by the way, we got Destination X coming on March 21st. That's pretty much the way it feels like. They're just throwing it out there and saying, oh, by the way, we got this show. This is like one of those pay-per-views that should be kind of like, maybe this is like the example of a pay-per-view that, not because the buy rates are not going to be worth probably having it on pay-per-view. They're probably going to lose a lot of money having it on pay-per-view, since they have to pay a lot of money for that. This would be like a perfect example to have, TNA's version of Clash of Champions, have, something on live TV, have it on Spike for free, since, you're going to be just wasting a lot of money just throwing it on pay-per-view. This is like one of the classic examples of them should be going that route with some of their events, because 12 pay-per-views for them probably isn't the best thing to do. Maybe, diminish it down to about 8 pay-per-views a year, since 12 pay-per-views is probably a little too much for them, since, a lot of them, they do nothing more than waste a lot of money to have it on pay-per-view, since some of the buy rates aren't that good all the time. But, like I said, the card looks pretty good. Let me get on to it. Kaz versus Daniels versus Red versus Brian Kendrick will probably be the opening match. This will be a ladder match for the #1 contendership for the X Division Championship. This should be a very good match. Should be a great way to start the pay-per-view off with. And Kaz is obviously going to win this match. They've been building up Kaz since his return. He's going to win this, become the #1 contender for the X Division Championship, and then probably when he gets his shot for the X Division Championship, he will become the X Division Champion at that point. Then the next match will be a match that I don't think many people are looking forward to. It's Eric Young and Kevin Nash teaming up to take on Scott Hall and Sean Waltman. This match is pretty much, it's called TNA Contract or Leave the Company for Good. If Hall and Waltman win this match, they get a TNA contract. If they lose this match, they are gone from TNA for good. Now, this match doesn't really make that much sense, booking it in the first place, because really, what is the point of this? I mean, Hall and Waltman, gain from this, and, the storyline, they get a TNA contract, but if they lose, they are gone from TNA for good. So this match right here is going to stop them from, coming into the company and just, coming out there every single week like they have been doing. I mean, it just doesn't make that much sense, booking the match like this. But Hall and Waltman will win this match. Most likely, you're going to see Kevin Nash turn on Eric Young in this match and help Hall and Waltman pick up the victory so they can have their TNA contracts. Then they'll, officially be in TNA for good, as the storyline goes. The next matchup will be for the TNA Knockouts Championship. This will be Tara versus Daphne. I'm looking forward to this match a lot. This could be a very good women's match. And the way they've been building up Daphne, I do think that they'll give the TNA Knockouts title to Daphne. She'll defeat Tara in this match to become the new Knockouts champion. And I think it would be the best move for TNA, because Daphne's very over with the crowd, and the crowd really likes her. And I think they've been doing a good job building her up to this match. And a lot of fans like her, and I think it'd be worth putting the title on her. Maybe not a long title run, maybe 2 months at best. The next match will be Mr. Anderson versus Kurt Angle. think this is one of the matches on the pay-per-view that I would say has been actually built up pretty good so far. This is probably the only match on this pay-per-view I would say has actually been built up pretty good. Now, this feud I think is going to continue, so Mr. Anderson is going to win this match just to prolong the feud, because if Kurt Angle wins it, it's pretty much the end of the feud, so Mr. Anderson will pick up the victory over Kurt Angle in this match. Then the next matchup will be Matt Morgan and Hernandez versus Beer Money for the TNA World Tag Team Championships. They'll probably break up Hernandez and Matt Morgan in this match. Beer Money will become the new TNA World Tag Team Championships, which I think they'll probably just keep it probably for a month and then lose it to whoever wins the Ultimate X match, either the Motor City Machine Guns or Generation Me at Lockdown. So I don't see Beer Money having a long title run. I think they're just going to give them the title so they can get it off of Hernandez and Matt Morgan and throw it on an actual real tag team. And that's the one thing that TNA needs to do, is get the tag titles on someone that's actually a real tag team, like Beer Money, or the Motor City Machine Guns, or like Generation Me. At least put the tag titles on a team that's not just a thrown together team, because if you want to say your tag division is good and it's real and it's a big tag division or a real good tag division, you need to have the tag titles on a real team, not just a team of two singles guys thrown together. So Beer Money will become the new TNA World Tag Team Champions. Next matchup will be Doug Williams versus Shannon Moore for the TNA X Division Championship. This match is kind of interesting. I think it might be a good match because Doug Williams, he has worked good with some people. Really liked the match he had on Impact on, I think it was the March 8th Impact with Daniels versus Red and himself. That was a very good triple threat. And this match right here, Shannon Moore getting the X Division title shot, I think it's kind of not sending a good message to a lot of the guys backstage, because Shannon Moore, he's been in TNA before this time in this run that he's having in TNA, but really all he's done in TNA so far this year has appeared backstage on the January 4th Impact with Jeff Hardy and getting in a car, then attacking Doug Williams on March 8th, then doing something this past Monday on TNA Impact. And he hasn't done enough, I think, to really get a X Division title shot, but since he's tight with Jeff Hardy, he's friends with Jeff Hardy, I will not be surprised if he wins the X Division Championship, which I do somewhat see him winning the X Division Championship. So I'm going to say Shannon Moore will become the new X Division Champion. Then the next matchup will be Rob Terry versus Brutus Magnus. This will be for the TNA Global Championship. This match, I don't think anyone cares about seeing. This match right here, and probably the Eric Young teaming up with Nash taking on the Hall and Waltman. I think the two matches on here that are going to be the only real bad matches. I mean, even the Beer Money versus Hernandez and Matt Morgan might be at least watchable. This match I'm not looking forward to at all. Hopefully it'll be very short. Brutus Magnus will probably pick up the victory and become the new TNA Global Heavyweight Championship champion, which they need to just get rid of that title. What's the point of having that title around in TNA? Then the next matchup will be Generation Me versus the Motor City Machine Guns in an Ultimate X match to determine the #1 contenders for the Tag Team Championships. Now, this could be an incredible match. Obviously, I'm going with this match is probably going to be the best match on the pay-per-view. These two have had great matches in PWG against each other, and I think they've even had maybe one or two matches so far in TNA tag matches with each other so far, and those were good for TV matches. This is going to be a good match for an Ultimate X match with these two. Obviously, it's going to be a very spotty match. Expect that, but that's what the match is supposed to be. Probably see a lot of great stuff in here. Generation Me, I do see them becoming the #1 contenders for the Tag Team Champions, so they will become the #1 contenders for the Tag Team Championships and win the Ultimate X match over the Motor City Machine Guns in this match. Then you got the main event, which is AJ Styles versus Abyss for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. This has been built up decent, but for the most part, everyone knows that going into this, Abyss has pretty much zero chance of walking out as World Heavyweight Champion, even though, all of us know that the way Hogan feels about Abyss, and he's been saying that Abyss could be like the John Cena for TNA, that some people might be like thinking maybe Abyss has a chance to walk out as champion, but I think everyone knows AJ Styles is going to walk out as champion because they've already built up the Pope versus AJ Styles match for Lockdown, and since they've already built that up, it will be pointless to put the title on Abyss, and Abyss versus the Pope, that would not be a good match, whereas AJ Styles and the Pope would be probably a very good to great match at TNA Lockdown. But Abyss and AJ Styles have had good matches in the past. The one thing that is kind of worrying to me about this match is that every single one of their matches I've enjoyed in the past has been a gimmick match. You know, back at Lockdown 2005, Steel Cage match, 6 Sides of Steel. That was an incredible match between those two. Probably one of my favorite TNA matches right there. Easily probably one of my top 10 TNA matches right there. AJ Styles versus Abyss at Lockdown 05. Then they had a tables match and a series of matches, I think, in 2004, January 2004, against each other on the weekly pay-per-views as well. And those were good as well, but every single one of them, for the most part, was a gimmick match. And it's going to be wondering how these two can work it out in a, regular match, not a gimmick match or anything like that. But I think these two could pull off a good match. AJ Styles is great, and these two have very good chemistry in the ring with each other. So I think, even though it's not a gimmick match or whatnot, and I understand why they wouldn't want this to be a gimmick match, since you kind of got a number of gimmick matches on this pay-per-view, since you got a ladder match and the Ultimate X match on here. You probably don't want to have the world title match in the main event be a gimmick match as well, so it makes a little sense not doing it and not, over gimmickifying a pay-per-view. So at least it makes sense, and AJ Styles will walk out as champion. Like I said, this pay-per-view, on the card-wise of it and on paper, it looks like it could be a good pay-per-view, but for the most part, I'm not going to say it's going to be a throwaway pay-per-view in the sense that it's going to be a bad or average pay-per-view, because I think this has a chance of being a very good to possibly great pay-per-view with a number of the matches on here, but it's going to be kind of a throwaway pay-per-view in the sense it's going to be a throwaway pay-per-view in the sense where it's going to be a pay-per-view where TNA hasn't really done a good job of promoting it, booking it, or doing anything like that, that the pay-per-view is not going to do good buy rates, and for the most part, it's not going to get much talk about since, you got WrestleMania just 1 week later. Since, now let me get on to my thoughts on the Monday Night War so far between WWE versus TNA, Week 1 and Week 2. Let me run through Week 1 real quick. Now, as far as Week 1, really, I would say both weeks, WWE and TNA really were just pretty much average shows at best. Nothing completely special. Now, the first week, I would say what you saw on Monday Night Raw, that was good. I did enjoy the Shawn Michaels and Undertaker segment. I think they've been building that feud up very good, and really can't wait to see their match they have at WrestleMania between each other, which probably will be the best match at WrestleMania. I think they did some pretty good building to Batista and Cena for that week on March 8th as well. And it still seems pretty good that, after Batista's attacking John Cena, Kofi makes the save on that Monday Night Raw for John Cena. So it looks like, Kofi's kind of still teetering somewhat to the main event, so that's a good sign right there. Really, everything else was probably, passable at best. Nothing much else that happened on there that's really worth talking about. As far as the first week of TNA Impact, which was the March 8th Impact that happened on there, saw the debut of RVD in TNA, which was great to see RVD debut in there, but the handling of him and the way they booked him there, which pretty much for the first week and a half, or probably even longer than that, it seemed like that everyone after RVD was debuted in TNA, were on YouTube debating, was RVD buried, was he not buried, which my stance on it, I would say that, yeah, RVD was definitely buried in his debut. Not in the sense they completely buried and killed his character, but in the sense they kind of did bury him, because he came out there, defeated Sting in less than 10 seconds, then after that just completely got demolished by Sting with a baseball bat for a number of minutes. It seemed like it went on for 5 or 10 minutes, then Hogan finally made the save. And not only that, I really hate the way they've been building RVD in TNA so far, is because as good as RVD is one of your most marketable guys in your company next to Jeff Hardy, which I'll give my thoughts on Jeff Hardy as well in a second, that he's one of your most marketable guys in your company, and you just handle him very terrible, which you're pretty much having him kind of be like the little thing in between to building up the Hogan and Sting feud, which they did on the first week as well, building up Hogan and Sting, so I guess you're going to see a match between them two sometime down the line. I don't know if you'll see it as early as Lockdown, because it seems like one of those things they'll build up for a couple of months, and then it'd be something that'll either happen at Slammiversary, or maybe they'll wait all the way till Bound for Glory for them two to have a match with each other, but they will have a match down the line at some point. Now, the one thing I think TNA really failed with this was the first 5 minutes of the show. You had that TNA video on YouTube that they posted on YouTube, kind of their viral video they wanted to get out, tell everyone to tune in for the first 5 minutes, and everyone was expecting, RVD to debut in the first 5 minutes, or Jeff Hardy to debut in the first 5 minutes, but you do your main event first, which was Biss and Hogan teaming up to take on Ric Flair and AJ Styles, and it was nothing more than Sting coming out there turning heel. After about 5 minutes of action, the match ends in no contest, and the match happens later on in the evening. Which that was another thing with the first Impact on March 8th that I didn't like at all was Sting turning heel. That thing has never worked in the past. TNA should learn from how much it failed in WCW that not that many people want to see Sting as a heel. It just doesn't work. I mean, I think Sting's trying to pull it off pretty good and it's doing decent for him so far, but it's going to be one of those things that, what's the real point of doing it? Now, the one thing on March 8th that was good for TNA that I would say is the thing of gold pretty much in a pile of shit, because that's pretty much most of what that Impact was, which was the golden lining in that Impact, which was the Daniels versus Kaz versus Amazing Red match. That was not Red, but it was Daniels versus Kaz versus Doug Williams. That match right there. Very good triple threat, very good TV match. Really enjoyed it. It was really the best thing on that TNA Impact, and it's good that they're kind of doing a storyline with the X Division right there within that match. Then the following week, this past Monday night on Raw, let me start with Raw first. Really, all you saw on Raw, they did the WrestleMania Rewind matches. You saw Cena and Big Show, you saw Triple H and Orton, and you saw Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels. All three of those matches ended with no one winning, no contest, disqualification, or something like that. So you really didn't see much right there. Then you had the Batista and Kofi Kingston match right there, which was pretty decent. It was good to see, Kofi, since even though he kind of got demolished by Batista, it's good to see him kind of still, like I said earlier, teetering towards the main event. It looks like WWE is still somewhat doing something with him, but probably other than that, and then obviously the Bret Hart and Vince McMahon thing with the contract signing with Stone Cold Steve Austin, that's really all that happened on Raw. Raw was pretty much at best kind of like a passable show, nothing really good. But I would say the one thing that even though Raw both weeks were nothing more than, at best watchable or average shows or nothing special at all for the most part, they at least had accomplished their goal. And their goal is to do nothing more than right now to build up to WrestleMania, make more people, interested in WrestleMania, and build up the feuds and build up the matches for WrestleMania. I think both weeks they accomplished that. Did they put on anything great or really good each week? No, but they did their goal of building up WrestleMania, whereas TNA building up their Destination X pay-per-view really didn't do that at all. And I would say the first week, after that, I forgot mentioning Jeff Hardy debuted at the end of the March 8th Impact, which he came out there, and then he was about to do a Swanton Bomb dive, and the Impact just goes off there, so it goes off there before he even hits his finisher, which was bad production right there. That was a terrible move TNA did. I don't know if Jeff Hardy, maybe he came out there too late, and they just ended up pulling the plug since it took too long for him to come out there or whatnot, or they just thought it was a good way to end it, with the suspense of Jeff Hardy debut, and I don't know if they did it on purpose or whatnot. But it seems like I think the news was that the overrun went a little longer than what they expected, and they accidentally pulled the plug too early. Then the following week, this past Monday on TNA Impact, really not much at all. I would say the opening segment with Jeff Hardy, Ric Flair, and AJ Styles was pretty good. I like seeing that. And the main event with Jeff Hardy and AJ Styles, pretty good match. They really kind of held back a lot, but for a TV match and seeing them two against each other was pretty good. Seeing them two against each other before in TNA, and they worked pretty good in the past. But still, we haven't got that, big pay-per-view match between those two, like a 15, 20-minute match or a 25-minute match between those two where they really go out there and hold nothing back. So I think if they go out there, hold nothing back, and go out there with their full abilities, they could have an incredible match with each other. But it's kind of terrible for TNA to have Jeff Hardy defeat your World Heavyweight Champion, even though kind of Abyss was involved, they kind of did something with that. But still, AJ Styles losing to Jeff Hardy, not a good sign right there, especially since going into that, you didn't know what Jeff Hardy's future was, because at first it was like, Jeff Hardy, what is he going to do? Is he going to end up in jail or whatnot? Now, his court date has been set back again. Now he's going to be able to wait till May to decide what happens with, his charges of, drug possession and whatnot, and his felonies, I think he caught from that as well. So TNA for at least 2 months got Jeff Hardy there, but then after that, you don't know what's going to happen with him. So I think that was kind of a bad move, having your world champion lose to Jeff Hardy, especially at that time, since you didn't know if Jeff Hardy was even going to be able to be there the following week or be there at all after that TNA Impact, which is kind of a bad move, I would say. But overall, I would say so far the Monday Night War, it's at least been entertaining that we've been seeing two wrestling shows going head-to-head against each other, and you can switch back and forth. That's been the good thing so far, but really, neither show has been really spectacular. Raw's pretty much been Raw, just pretty much the same exact thing we've been seeing for a long time. And TNA, they put on some good stuff. Like the first week, I would say they put on that X Division 3-way with Daniels, Kaz, and Doug Williams, which was very good. And the following week, you did the Jeff Hardy and AJ Styles match. But other than that, you really didn't do much on the show that was really good at all. You know, you did the build up with Hogan and Sting a little more, which I don't think that many people care about seeing. And they did the whole thing with RVD kind of being involved there, kind of him being involved within it and building, and then really just focusing more on Hogan and Sting, which I think is a bad move right there. So just wanted to come on here, give my TNA Destination X 2010 pay-per-view predictions and my thoughts on the Monday Night Wars Week 1 and Week 2, kind of quick run through of those. So yeah, that's it. Peace.